Hello, and whatever time it is for you, good for you. It is morning for... It's still morning. Anyways. Hi. Today we're going to be talking about protecting your energy. I just ate some crackers. Some seems to be lodged in my throat. You know what, let's get on my notes. So again, just a reminder, anytime I talk about a topic, I'm not speaking as a master or honestly even what I know what I'm doing. I'm talking about what I'm learning in the process of current here and now. So it's not the end all, I can solve your problem. No, it's, yo, I'm going through this right now, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people doing the same. So I'm just going to share what I've learned. Okay. So, control your energy and control your space is what I'm talking about. It's something I'm having to learn quite promptly. The sooner the better. Because it's something I've been dealing with all my life. I'm an empath. I still do. You know, I've talked about going out in public and feeling really depressed and picking up people's emotions and stuff. I've talked on this channel about jobs, like, you know, I could be in a perfectly fine mood, and because I'm not centered or grounded or something, customer comes in all angry, and I absorb their anger just out of nowhere. It's like, why am I so angry? Or we don't even think about it. Going out in public. If I don't have a mental aura shield up or a bubble shield, I absorb people's emotions. I was going to say information, but it's the same thing. I used to talk about going to a mall. It's like, I want to go to the mall, I'm in a good mood. Yeah, I'm having fun. Then I leave the mall, I'm just like, oh my god, I'm so depressed. Why? Why do I feel like this? What happened? I'm anxious, I'm tired, I'm depressed, I'm physically drained. The fuck happened to me in there? Well, that's just one instance. I'm gonna cover as much as I can without being all crazy. I'm also semi-grounded today. And even though I have notes, they're not very well formulated. So what does it truly mean to control your space? Because people think when you say control, that literally means having both hands on the wheel and controlling your car perfectly. Being a perfect little driver. That's not the case. When I really say control your space, control your energy, it's your personal bubble. Because the only thing we truly can control is ourselves. As we know, no matter how well you can be prepared, no matter how strategic and logic you are, you can plan for every scenario. You always watch movies and they're like, I plan for every scenario. Then something weird happens and they're like, except that. How the fuck did that happen? What? I've been experiencing a lot of that in my life. Ready for every contingency. Something completely I couldn't even think of just happens. Why? Because we can't think of everything. There are factors in this universe that we can't even comprehend. So our little human brains couldn't possibly fathom all the outcomes. It's almost basically impossible. I mean, I'm sure there's always people that are better prepared, more prepared, or always seem prepared. I'm not even trying to get into that. But it's not that type of control I'm trying to get into. It's controlling yourself. So let's go back to that customer scenario. There's been times when I cracked and I would respond at like a butthole. You know, you get cut off in traffic. I'm admitting it, a lot of us do it. You get cut off in traffic and you flip them the bird. And you're like, ah, ah. But like I used to be, it would affect me for the rest of the day. Something insignificant, and minor would piss me off and ruin my day. And then I would carry that anger onwards into whatever I did next. And I'd essentially end up being angry for the rest of the day. Well, that's not controlling your space, that's actually leaking energy. I probably should have actually wrote some notes. Excuse me. So in this one instance, controlling your space or your energy is also preventing leaky energy. How do you do that? Well, like I just said, I carried that anger the rest of the day. If I got cut off or something, I would just be angry for the rest of the day. That's leaking energy. That's living in the past. Because it just happened. Even 2 or 3 hours later, I'm still angry about it. I mean, that's normal human response. But it's something I'm working on to fix. So, thinking about that the rest of the day is leaking my energy, my attention. Let's put it this way. Where your attention goes is where energy flows. That's what everyone in the spiritual community says. And it's true. So if I'm sitting here thinking about something that happened 2 to 3 weeks ago, ruminating, that's taking my energy. I'm leaking energy. Because my attention is not on the here, it's on the past, it's on the future. Because worrying about the future is also leaking energy. You're like, well, Adam, you want to prepare for the future. Yes, to a degree. But it can also be detrimental. It's catch-22. So where your attention goes is how you leak energy. And I've noticed some things like family or people who watch my videos also. They can send you energy. They can take your energy. They can tap into it. One thing I've also noticed is being too vulnerable. You can be vulnerable, it's actually a necessity. But being too vulnerable and learning when to, kind of cut your words. Not be inauthentic or lie, but I also don't need to sit here and tell you my whole effing life story. I will one day, maybe. So there's nothing wrong inherently with being vulnerable, but there are people that are using it against me, and that's not... I'm being paranoid, no, it's my energies are wicky-wacky. I have not said that in years. Weird. And that creates holes or openings in your energy. For instance, being vulnerable with someone you shouldn't necessarily. Like my dad. Anytime, or my parents in general. Anytime you give them an inch, that kind of rule. You give them an inch and they take the whole ruler. So nervous systems, as we continuously talk about on my channel, learn the pattern of being vulnerable is bad. But then you have to learn to be vulnerable. But you have to learn how much. So being too vulnerable is also leaking energy. And I've been doing that on this channel. I acknowledge it. I'm still learning when to cut phrases or information. It's been something I'm struggling with. So, picking your words without trying to control them. But, well, let me put it this way. Say, like I used to say, I used to work at a job that worked me like crazy. Well, my immune system became vulnerable because I was not sleeping. My body wasn't getting what it needed. So I was more susceptible to diseases and viruses and stuff. It works the same way with your energy. And again, I'm saying this being a big hypocrite because I'm struggling with it. I'm still working on it. But it's like, say, for instance, a bad breakup. You continuously think about them and it just keeps going back to them. And that rumination, and it drains you. It really does. Sitting up here in your head drains you too. Whether you believe it or not, thinking actually takes energy. Surprise, surprise. So for me, someone who lives up in my head a little too much, I'm working on it. It's draining. Constantly looping, worrying about stuff, thinking about stuff. My nervous system is still working on itself and trying to be repaired. But I still catch myself working on some of the patterns, like I'll go into a store and I say something to someone, and even if it wasn't a negative experience, I left and I'll be thinking about it later that day. I'm just like, why am I thinking about this? Weird. So basically, it's just kind of going back to the awareness thing. Being aware of where you are in your space. Boom. Because then the other thing is physical space, which we'll get into in a second, but mental space. So if I can be here present in the moment, it makes life a little simpler. That's when I actually used to make a lot of mistakes. Oftentimes when I wake up, I will be groggy and tired and, you're ungrounded, and that's when you, I don't know, hit a curb or forget your wallet, forget your keys, or you get out of your car and you lock your doors and your keys are locked in your car. Something kind of like that. I haven't had that happen, luckily. But I feel the sensation when I wake up. I'm just like, And in those moments, we make mistakes. In fact, I haven't been sleeping great, and I can feel it every now and then. I'm just like, did I do this? Oh, yeah, I did. Shit. It's because I'm not giving my body the energy or the time it needs. I'm trying. But again, you give too much information, leaks energy. Your attention going all over the place, leaking energy. I know there's a... Oh, that's not peanut butter. Anyways. Sorry, I got a little distracted. Something weird's on my finger. Anyways. It's kind of random. So how do you actually control your space? So it's having the awareness of being present and knowing you, because, for instance, going back to that customer experience, well, I know I was in a good mood. I was okay. And then all of a sudden I'm angry and I picked up energy that wasn't mine. And I'm frustrated. And if you're not present, you're just like, well, all of a sudden I'm just in a bad mood and I don't know why. But if you're present, it's like, hey, yo, I was okay. This is not my energy. This is not me. Go away. Disperse. Whatever. So being aware. Because then if I had carried that anger the rest of the day, it would have just transitioned to everything. Everything I did. And here's the kicker. That energy transference actually controls the space outside of you, going into the physical space. So if I'm angry the rest of the day, say for instance, here's a good example. I was trying to sell something at Cheapskate, Uptown Cheapskate or something like that. And I was tired, just a little frustrated. And the first thing that happened was I went, put down a jacket or something. I'm like, hey, would you guys buy this? First thing they asked, well, give me your information. I instantly got triggered. I'm like, yo, dude, I just want to check out this jacket. Like, why do I have to give you my marketing information so you can send me marketing shit? And like, I got mad. And it destroyed the outcome. They wouldn't even look at it. Manager comes over and goes, take your jacket, we don't want it. It's like, yeah. But because I was in a bad mood, my situation reflected it. That's how you control your space externally. Not again trying to be the always being prepared. It's the being okay inside, even if something outside happens. I'm in control of myself. So when something bad does happen, it's okay. When something unwanted or just, you can handle it better. I've noticed there were times when I probably parked like a dingus. Why do you have to park here, dude? Park somewhere else. So there's times where I had angry customers. They came in trying to be angry, and I'm just like, yep, okay, cool beans. And I've actually had scenarios where the customer left happy. It's because I controlled my space and my energy. I was able to resolve something that I normally couldn't, kind of thing. But it's because I was aware and in control of myself. Well, that's what it means when they say your space. Let's put it this way. Whether you believe in mysticism or esoteric whatever, everyone believes there's a aura bubble. It's actually quite common, multiple religions. In fact, there's even a term recently that came up called aura farming. Yeah. But it is true. We have this bubble. And if you don't believe in mysticism, go with Science. We are electromagnetic beings. Just like my phone technically has a aura. It's got a magnetic force around it because it produces electricity and all this other stuff. We do the same thing, just like the Earth. The Earth produces a magnetic field. That would essentially be its aura. We have the same thing. We produce a electromagnetic field that we call the aura. Really, it's a quantum bubble, but we're not going to go into that. So using science, electric magnetic fields. Think of it this way. It's not really one energy, positive or negative, but imagine it like a physical space of positive and negative energies flowing around you. And that is why Reiki and certain things are helpful, is because it clears that out. Like, I actually have a selenite wand, which I kind of just clean over myself some days just to kind of clean my own aura, kind of clean my space. So you clean your energy and clean your space. Sometimes you can do practices like that. Sometimes you can't. Kind of, for instance, that job, you need a job. In this today's society, you have to have a job. So, how do you go out and protect yourself when you can't control the scenario around you? Like I said, you control yourself the best you can. It does wear you down, I understand. Because, it happens, we're human. Dealing with people like that all day, it really wears you down. And that's why it's really hard to control, or more difficult to control your inner self. Because then you get around that all day, all night, and that's just kind of normal. People are people. But this is where controlling your space matters. As we've discovered on my channel, like I said, I'm sleeping in my car. But this I can control for the most part. I can keep it clean, I can keep it organized, I can keep it regulated, and that actually helps me control my energy. Why? Because I'm not living in a pigsty. I'm in a clean environment. But if you don't, like days when I said I used to live in an apartment and I wasn't the greatest at taking care of it, because the whole building had cockroaches, then it was leaking energy. I wasn't feeling good. I wasn't taking care of myself as well. It's kind of stuff like that. So controlling your space physically is important too. For instance, I get a lot of crap about it. I just didn't expect it to go this way. It is what it is. But I quit one of my most recent jobs. I became a store manager. And you obviously would think, oh, that's great. Well, not really. It was a super chaotic and actually bad, I'm going to use the term toxic, a bad environment. It doesn't have to be toxic. I don't like saying it, but it was not suitable for myself. I was actually being manipulated by my managers. I had 3 or 4 of them. And it was one of those scenarios, they're all telling me different things. They're taking away privileges without giving reasons. Like, they were actually making my job harder than it had to be. And that's not being paranoid. That's, for instance, just a quick story. I got hired on for the first month. My manager or the owner wouldn't even make me a profile. He kept telling me to use his, which is store owner privileges. Eventually, I had to go through and do a bunch of crap, but, and when I called and asked for help, they said, oh, I went to India. Well, they didn't, but it was very, very bad. So I had to remove myself, whether it was logical or not. That space was not meant for me. And clearly, you could look at my life and be like, well, that was a dumb choice. Yeah, in a sense, but I'm happier. Kind of. It's choosing yourself, sometimes, is another way to protect your energy, is choosing yourself. Because literally, that job was so draining, they refused to hire another person. So I worked there from, like 8, 9 in the morning to about 2, 3 o'clock. And they were like, oh, it's slow, it's slow. Well, they said on a good day, $1,000, is a good day. And there were days I was making $1,000 before I left work. I was like, alright guys, you need to hire someone. Oh, you're fine. Okay. So now I'm physically draining, I'm tired, I feel like shit because they're overworking me. I couldn't even call in a day off. Well, there's no one else to cover for you. Well, yeah, but that's not my problem. I need a day off. Well, and they just kept messing with me. Now, see, here's the difference right now. I could tell this story, and I could be angry, and I could be, they were so bad, and they were... That would be leaking energy. In fact, I had to re-record this episode because I did exactly that. I realized I wasn't really grounded. Not that I am right now, but I was angry. I was talking about the stories, and I could feel myself revving up, like, still angry about it. And that's leaking energy. Because this happened months ago. Months. Yeah, I haven't been there in 4 or 5 months. And yet I'm still frustrated about it. Well, so that's leaking energy. Now, there's another way to actually fix that, is retrain your nervous system. For instance, I got the fuck out. I left. I literally, I'll admit it, I kind of tanked it a little bit. It was interesting. I did put in my 2 weeks. I didn't just like up and quit. But it was one of those scenarios I knew they were going to screw me over no matter what. Why? Because I actually sent them my 2 weeks. Whoa, 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 whoa. Adam, hold on. Hold the fort. Whoa, whoa. We'll come in tomorrow and talk about this. Me and my mom, and it's family owned. Me and my mom will come in. We can sit down and talk about it. They never showed up. It's like, okay. So I let my 2 weeks stand. It's like, all right. So on that day of my 2 weeks, I walked out. I was like, bye. You guys don't want to accept it. I bet you they probably put it in there as I quit, but whatever. They were refusing to help me. It was actually a very, very bad situation. And it was draining me beyond anything else. I hated myself. Even though I had my own store, they were being nasty and manipulative and just horrible to me. But I needed money. I needed a paycheck. Well, yeah, that's true. But I can remove myself from that situation. I'm not saying every job's perfect. Or any job's perfect. But that was actually really bad. Really bad. And when you start setting these boundaries, that's another thing. You can set boundaries. Boundaries are needed. So I would set boundaries with one of my managers, and it actually really pissed him off. At one of the main jobs that I was upset I lost, they worked me like a dog. Because I allowed them to. They wouldn't hire good people. It was like that old motif of 2 or 3 good workers and the rest are crap. And those 2 or 3 good workers hold down the fort, while the rest are just kind of filler. That's actually something businesses tend to do. They have a couple of good workers and then some just to kind of keep their roster going. Well, what happens when nobody wants to cover overtime? I was always the guy getting called, hey, so-and-so just called in, you're staying? Yeah, fine. I allowed them to work me like crazy. Finally one day, because I kept getting sick, I actually started getting sick. And that's the only time I ever get sick anymore, is if I'm not taking care of myself. So I was not. And I was getting sick almost every 2 to 3 weeks. Twice a month almost. And I would be 3 to 4 days. I would be out of work. So it's like, okay, now it's actually becoming detrimental. I'm trying to work overtime to make more money, but it's physically making me sick, and I'm actually losing more money, because now I can't go work my normal hours. Fuck. Okay. So one day I look at my boss, I'm like, I can't do it anymore. No more overtime. I'm not willing to stay. And it pissed him off. Why? Because then he actually had to start filling in the gap. We went down that roster. Hey, can you come into work? Hey, can you come into work? And then he's getting mad at me because I won't stay. Because he has to come in. And it's like, well, do you try hiring people that want to come into work? If they don't want to come into work, why do you still have them at work? Why are they still allowed to come in? You know they're messing with you, it's like, but he took it out on me. In fact, I used to have a manager when I worked at CC's who would literally take me out back and just scream at me. Even if it wasn't my fault. One day he actually looked at me and said, hey man, I'm sorry for this, I know it's not your fault, but and he would just go crazy. I was being emotionally abused at that job. So choosing yourself and setting boundaries is very important. Being like, all right, I see you. I know what's going on. Sure, no job is perfect, but F you, I'm not doing this anymore. I can't. I respect myself too much to allow this to continue. I'm done being manipulated. I'm done being screwed with. And it's, again, not just bad business. These people were, not interested in the best interest of their people. Let's put it that way. They didn't care about their coworkers. Most businesses don't. But it's different when you have to directly interact with your owner instead of being at like a restaurant or something where it's corporate and your managers are just kind of buttholes. My owners were actually very negative and manipulative. So I had to remove myself from the situation. And I'm just kind of rolling with it now. I'm just living with my consequences. It is what it is. I could still be mad and be like, "Rrr!" But again, there's no point. There's no damn point. Because then that's just, again, leaking energy. So we go back to another thing. Fixing or training your nervous system. Because again, mine loops a little bit. A lot of people, it's not just me. A lot of people loop. A lot of people get in their head. A lot of people get in their head and they get stuck when they loop. I understand that. But that's not necessarily your fault. It's the nervous system, the way it's trained. So you also kind of have to stop it in its tracks or retrain it, essentially. The awareness comes back. Oh, I clicked on my eye. I don't know why I just said clicked. God, I need some sleep. So you gotta retrain your nervous system, retrain your mind to stop the looping and reprogram the story and be like, you know what? Yes, those people just unhappy. They learned that they thought they could control and manipulate people, and finally they had someone who couldn't, and they didn't know how to react. So what happens is they become more manipulative and more angry, till finally I just leave. That's it. That's the story. I don't have to sit here and relive it. I don't even have to sit here and retell the story. It's helpful, because there's information in the story, but I can tell the story without being in the story. That's part of the nervous system thing. Is whenever I used to tell a story, I would feel it rev up, and I would be in the moment of the story, and not in the present here. I wouldn't be the person telling the story, I'd be the person reliving the moment in my head. And I would re-feel the emotion to be... So retraining your nervous system is another way. So boundaries, stop leaking energy, retrain your nervous system. They all just kind of tie together. It's not like it's one thing. It's just awareness on where or how it's being presented in your life. So again, if you can't control the outsides, you can only control yourself so much. But if it truly is detrimental to you, just make an exit plan. My exit plan was a little drastic. It is what it is. But take care of yourself. That's what matters the most. Choosing yourself. Choosing yourself and setting boundaries. Which is all kind of the same thing. Retraining your nervous system is choosing yourself. Setting boundaries is choosing yourself. For instance, family members. Family members is a big thing right now for me. I had to cut ties with a lot of family. Why? Because they're sending me negative energy. They're trying to tell me how to live my life. It's that kind of thing. And I could sit here and be mad about it. This is where the empathy and the psychic ability kind of starts tickering. If you find yourself thinking of someone for no rhyme or reason, that could be them actually thinking of you. I've had this happen. Anyways, I felt anger from my dad because I wouldn't reply to a text. That's where empathy and the psychic thing kind of kicks my butt. But I can tell when my family's thinking of me, and I can tell how they feel about me without a lot of interaction. And then my energy leaks to them, because now I'm thinking about them. Two-way street. They're thinking about me, I'm picking up on the signal, and then my energy goes back to them. And whether they're doing it on purpose. Some people do. Some people do. But I don't think my family is doing it on purpose. And that's part of the story. That's part of the story. Is part of my nervous system, has lived in survival mode for so long, sometimes these things aren't even true. It's like I'm so used to being under fire that sometimes, again, receiving help sometimes is a trigger of being, oh, they don't think I'm good enough or something like that, or blah, blah, blah. And that's where my energy's going instead of, again, being in the present. So retraining, I don't know, I think I'm just beating around a dead bush now. But then that's where the awareness kicks in. So if you start thinking about someone out of the blue, it's not like, oh, I looked at something and it reminded me of you. No, it's like I'm just sitting here having a good old time, and all of a sudden pops in my head like my sister thinking I'm dumb or something, just out of nowhere. It's like, we're not even gonna think about that, because sometimes I would get stuck in a mental loop of defending myself. My nervous system would defend myself in my head. And I'd be like, yo. And I would start thinking about all the things I would want to say and trying to defend myself, even though I know it's pointless because it's literally just in my head. And those mental loops in your nervous system also drain you. So truth be told, most of it's not even stuff outside of you draining you, it's you draining you. That's the big reveal. You're draining your own energy, whether you know it or not. Whether you mean to, you don't mean to. Yeah, that's how it's happening. And I'm not saying be completely aware of everything all the time, because that is also very taxing. But start to be aware here and there. It's kind of like patching up a boat. You don't know it's sprung a leak, maybe, and all of a sudden you're just like, oh, there's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole. But you don't want to go, in a boat scenario, you'd want to patch it up as fast as you can. But that can also be detrimental to you as well. Trying to fix everything and act as if I'm in a constant state of being broken kind of thing, that also leaks energy. I'm trying to convey a lot of information without overloading you. Because I can already feel it. It's like, whoa, this is a lot. You're telling me I gotta be aware of this. Not all the time. Because as you start to notice these things, it becomes a lot easier. Like I said, I'm literally sitting here doing the video, and some things are clicking for me in my head. And I was like, oh, okay. That's actually how a lot of this happens. Some of my epiphanies are from my videos. You see it on my face. I'm like, fuck, I just learned something. So, it's kind of a pain. But, in time, like many people say, you grow it, you put in those reps, and it becomes a lot easier. And debilitating a little bit. Because I'll be sitting there some days, like, I just think it's hilarious. I'm sitting there some days just eating, and something pops in my head, I'm just like, I'm eating. Can I not do shadow work or spiritual work right now? I'm trying to eat. Bastards. Is there anything else? And again, I just resurface. The point is not to never be vulnerable. Just learning selective vulnerability. So, awareness, I'm not going to beat the bush. You kind of get what I'm saying, hopefully. Hopefully this made sense. Hopefully this is useful. Like I said, I'm still kind of sleepy. I stopped drinking coffee as much, so I'm just kind of in a daze right now. Semi-grounded, semi-not. I guess the reason we never get out of this really is, again, because it becomes difficult. Putting in the reps, being consistent, that's the pain in the ass. Because some days I don't want to be nice, I'm going to be honest. Someone offends me, I want to be a butthole. That's human nature. But your nervous system, that's just your nervous system on repeat. So, shadow work. That's also another big one, shadow work. Setting boundaries within yourself. That is also a thing. Saying, for instance, I know sometimes in the moment it's really hard to remember, but if you're able to pull back and be grounded, in the moment, your awareness kicks in and says, oh, this is just a pattern. Just let it play out. You don't have to react. You don't have to do anything. Just kind of... Yeah, I think I'm done. I'm getting sleepy. Well, that's it, kids, boys and girls. If you have any other questions, or if you actually guys have questions, start posting them. I do mention I have a Discord. I think it's finally up and running. I didn't notice the link was bad, so I had fixed it. Hopefully it's good. We'll have to test it. But if it's not good, leave a comment. Say broken link, fix it. Beyond that, I'm probably gonna control my space and clean my car a bit. Have a good day.